Peace, everybody. I'm taking a few classes, and in one of my classes, I had to watch a documentary recently. Sometimes I try to kind of stay focused on certain things that'll keep me, um, in I guess more of like a high vibe because like I said, I lost my father in September, late, 2019. And so this past year has been kind of like a year of healing. And when it comes to healing, in my perspective, in order to heal, you have to be kind of removed from what you're healing from. And so it's difficult. For example, let's say you go to therapy for an abusive relationship. I think that's a great thing if you go to a counselor or you get some sort of mental health if you're trying to heal from an abusive relationship. But if you're still in that abusive relationship, how is that counseling going to help you? If every single night, that woman is going home and getting her ass kicked, how is therapy going to help her? Right? So the first step is to remove yourself from the situation. And I think I can use that kind of as a microcosm of America. There's like this big push for mental health, but the people that are oppressed are still being, oppressed by oppressors. So what is healing going to do if you are still in the same situation, still in the same oppressive situation? And another point I wanted to make was, the reason why the documentary was something that I watched like 45 minutes out of an hour of it. But it was a little bit tough for me to get through because it just, there are things that trigger me as far as, I try my best to keep it very high vibe and I try my best to, stay positively minded. But when I think about my people and the things that we've been through and the things that we continue to go through, it is troubling to say the least. And so this documentary was about black press, which was particularly interesting to me because I'm a writer, and how it emerged in the Jim Crow era during a time where there were dozens and dozens of lynchings every single week, mostly of black men, and the paranoia of white press, the fear of white press that they did not want the black media to tell their story. And they literally wanted to get away with murder. And most of the murders were white women falsely accusing black men of rape or consensual intimacy where it gets found out that there's a couple or a white woman is sleeping with a black man, and almost all of them had to lie and say that it was non-consensual. And they had these lynch parties, there were lynchings. And so black press kind of emerged out of that. And there was such a resistance when I was watching this documentary, there's such a paranoia and a resistance of black press being able to actually tell their story. And they really they wanted to, because when you read the articles in white press, how they wrote up the lynchings, they justified it, you know what I mean? They made it seem like blacks were the savages, blacks were the criminals, blacks were the, but that wasn't the case. They put a tremendous spin on the story so they could literally get away with murder. And the fact that them wanting to tell the black story was racist within itself. Them wanting to mute your narrative, mute your story, not allow you to tell your own story and speak for you is racist within itself. For example, as a woman, if there was a guy that was interested in me and he's going up to everybody else but me to ask about me, that would automatically disqualify that man. Why don't you just come up to me and ask me about myself? Why do you need to know who I am or my story from other people? And so going back to mental health therapy and counseling and all those things, to me, it's useless to try to heal yourself when you are still in that situation. Furthermore, with white press, them having control of the narrative, they would write it up to make it seem like they were not the psychotics, when in fact they were. They were murderers. They were executing black people. They were doing all types of terrible things. And according to their story, they tried to justify it when that wasn't accurate. They lied about it. And so the way that I see it, when you really study slavery and you really study, Jim Crow, and you study redlining, of course the people who were traumatized would need some sort of healing from that trauma. But you have to look at it and say, what kind of psychotic do you have to be to even do something like that to another human being? How are you telling somebody that you're inflicting such tremendous pain on that they need therapy when you're the one who's executing such cruel and inhumane behavior and conduct? You need therapy to even feel like it's okay to do that to another human being. And so when I talk about mental health, again, I'm like, you first. Because I know that I've heard this push, Taraji was talking about it, Charlamagne the God was talking about it, I think Common has talked about it. There's just like emphasis, this push for black people to get help, and saying that, we got to remove the stigma of therapy. But if we are still in an oppressive situation with the people that oppressed us, what good is it? If it's your job, if you have a racist boss and it's your job that you got to show up every single morning to feed your kids, and you're going to therapy about that job, what's the point of it? You're just venting to sign up and do the same thing over and over and over again? And so I say, you first. That's what I say. Like, you want the people that got oppressed to get help. I say, you first. You first. Talk about what you did to get them to that state of mind, to get them to that point where they would feel like they needed to get help, counseling, so on and so forth. You first. Because it's not gonna go down like that. You're not gonna remain the silent third party and pretend like you don't know how this whole thing unfolded, and then say that they're the ones that need some sort of help. You first. Right? And I'm saying this to be kind of tongue-in-cheek, because I've already said I don't really believe in it. As far as the way that therapy is designed, I've already said I don't really believe in the mental health industry. It is dominated by people who embody people who have been historically very oppressive. So to go ahead and like lay on the couch of somebody who embodies somebody who inflicted the pain on you, and then talk about all of your pain, to me is not a healthy thing to do. But you first, because we got to put these things in perspective. That's what the whole thing I was thinking with this black press story. The perspective, right? Everything has to be put in perspective. So don't just tell a piece of the story, tell the full story, tell the whole story. Tell the truth and nothing but the truth, from day one to currently, to this current breath that we take right now. And leave no details out so people can get the whole truth and the whole story. So I say, you first. Food for thought. Peace.